Imagine for a moment that Obi-Wan Kenobi, instead of leaving Anakin dying on the slopes of Mustafar, had decided to deliver the final blow. A single movement of his lightsaber would have changed the fate of the galaxy forever. What would have happened if Anakin Skywalker had died that day? Would the Empire have triumphed? Would Luke and Leia have had a different destiny? Today, we'll explore one of Star Wars' most impactful what-if scenarios. What would have happened if Obi-Wan had killed Anakin on Mustafar? This duel wasn't just a fight between master and apprentice. It was the moment that defined the future of the galaxy. And today, we're going to discover how everything could have been different. To understand the magnitude of this what-if, we must first return to that crucial moment in Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. After falling to the dark side, Anakin Skywalker confronts his former master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, in an epic duel over the lava rivers of Mustafar. Two friends, turned enemies, fight not only with their lightsabers, but with their ideals and emotions. Obi-Wan, devastated by Anakin's betrayal, manages to defeat him, but instead of delivering the final blow, he decides to leave him to die, believing that Anakin's fate is already sealed. However, what Obi-Wan didn't know is that his decision not to kill Anakin would allow the birth of one of the most iconic villains in history, Darth Vader. But what would have happened if Obi-Wan had decided to end Anakin's life at that moment? Everything changes when the duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin reaches its climax, as Anakin, in an act of arrogance, tries to jump over Obi-Wan from an elevated position. Obi-Wan, anticipating the movement, raises his lightsaber and cuts off Anakin's limbs in a defensive act. Anakin falls to the ground near the edge of the lava river and begins to crawl toward the shore, screaming in pain and rage. Obi-Wan, with a broken heart, approaches his former apprentice. In an attempt to help him, he extends his hand, but Anakin, consumed by hatred, rejects it with a violent gesture. At that moment, a piece of ground near the lava river collapses, and Anakin slips toward the edge. Obi-Wan tries to grab him, but it's too late. Anakin dies before Obi-Wan's eyes. Obi-Wan, overwhelmed by guilt and grief, falls to his knees. The force around him feels turbulent, as if the universe itself mourned the loss of the one who was once the chosen one. After Anakin's death, Obi-Wan returns to his ship with a broken heart. There he finds Padme, who had followed Anakin to Mustafar. With a broken voice, Obi-Wan reveals the truth. Anakin is dead. Padme, already weakened by the strangling she suffered at Anakin's hands and devastated by the news, enters a state of deep shock. Despite Obi-Wan's efforts to quickly take her to a medical center in Polis Massa, Padme's spirit fades away. "I cannot go on without him," she whispers as the medical droids struggle to save her. "There is good in him, I know it." In her last moments of lucidity, Padme gives birth to twin babies, Luke and Leia. With her last breath, she looks at Obi-Wan and whispers, "Take care of them, Ben. They are the hope." And so, just as in the original canon, Padme Amidala dies of a broken heart, leaving her children orphaned in an increasingly dark universe. As he watches the newborns, something breaks inside Obi-Wan Kenobi. Guilt consumes him. Not only has he failed Anakin and the Jedi Order, but now Padme is gone too. Two lives that could have been saved if he had acted differently. During Padme's funeral on Naboo, Obi-Wan remains in the shadows, away from Bail Organa and the Queen of Naboo. His thoughts darken with each passing moment. All of this is Palpatine's fault, he thinks, as he watches Padme's body being carried in procession. And we Jedi were too weak, too slow to see it. Rage begins to bubble inside him, a rage he had never before allowed to flourish. Following the original plan, Obi-Wan takes Luke to Tatooine to leave him with Owen and Berilars, while Leia is adopted by Bail Organa and his wife on Alderaan. But unlike the original story, Obi-Wan doesn't stay on Tatooine to watch over Luke from afar. Instead, he seeks a remote planet where he can meditate and connect with the Force without the limitations of the Jedi Code. It's there where the voices begin to whisper to him. In his meditations, Obi-Wan hears the voice of Qui-Gon Jinn, his former master, warning him about the path he's considering. But he also hears another voice, more seductive, promising him the power needed to defeat Palpatine and avenge all those who have fallen. Months later, Obi-Wan seeks out Yoda on Dagobah. The elderly Jedi Master immediately perceives the change in his old friend. Troubled your mind is, Obi-Wan. At the edge of the precipice you find yourself. We Jedi have failed, Master Yoda, Obi-Wan responds bitterly. Our code made us weak. While we clung to ideals of peace and non-violence, Palpatine planned our destruction. The Jedi way, question you should not. To darkness, vengeance leads. Not vengeance, justice, exclaims Obi-Wan, his voice rising. Anakin was the chosen one, and Palpatine corrupted him. Anakin's children will grow up without parents. And what do? We hide while the galaxy suffers under the yoke of the Empire. Patience we must have. The time to act will come. Obi-Wan stares intently at Yoda, and in his eyes burns a fire that the old master had never seen before. I have waited long enough, says Obi-Wan, turning his back. I will create my own code. I will attack all those who generate chaos and pain, starting with Palpatine. Then lost you are, Obi-Wan Kenobi. No, Master. For the first time in a long time, I have found myself. In the underworld of Nar Shaddaa, rumors about an ex-Jedi hunting Imperials reach Maul's ears. The former Sith Lord, who survived his apparent death on Naboo, has remained in the shadows since the fall of the Republic. Intrigued by these rumors, Maul tracks Obi-Wan to a planet in the Outer Rim. He finds him meditating in a cave, surrounded by both Jedi and Sith artifacts that he has collected in his travels. Kenobi, says Maul, igniting his lightsaber, I have waited for this moment for years. Obi-Wan opens his eyes, but doesn't move. If you've come to kill me, Maul, I suggest you reconsider your decision. I am no longer the Jedi you knew. Maul studies his old enemy and perceives the change in the force that surrounds him. Darkness and light, mixed in a precarious balance. You have fallen, observes Maul, with a mixture of surprise and respect. I have evolved, corrects Obi-Wan. And you have survived. It seems we both have a complicated relationship with death. After a tense conversation, both discover that they share a common enemy, Palpatine. Maul reveals how he was betrayed and discarded by his former master, while Obi-Wan shares his determination to end the Emperor, to avenge Anakin and restore peace to the galaxy. I never thought I would say this, Kenobi, but perhaps we can help each other. Obi-Wan considers the proposal. The irony doesn't escape him. He, a former Jedi, allying with a former Sith. But in these dark times, former enemies must become allies. We have a common goal, he finally concedes. Defeating Palpatine won't be easy. First, we must eliminate his most powerful agents. The Inquisitors, Maul nods. I have been watching them. They hunt the surviving Jedi and Force-sensitive children. Then we'll start with them, decides Obi-Wan. And then, when the time is right, we'll go for Palpatine. During the following years, Obi-Wan and Maul become the nightmare of the Empire. Working from the shadows, they systematically eliminate the Inquisitors, those ex-Jedi who turned to the dark side to serve the Emperor. Their first victim is an Inquisitor sent to investigate rumors of a Jedi hiding on Lothal. The battle is brief but intense. The Inquisitor, confident in his power, is not prepared to face the lethal combination of Obi-Wan and Maul. As he dies, he looks at Obi-Wan in horror. You are Kenobi. The Emperor speaks of you. He says, you have fallen. I haven't fallen, Obi-Wan responds, deactivating his lightsaber. I have freed myself. With each Inquisitor that falls, the reputation of the two warriors grows. The Imperials begin to fear the shadows, and the oppressed whisper stories about the Avengers who defy the Emperor. Finally, only the Grand Inquisitor remains, the most powerful of them all. They find him in an ancient Jedi temple, searching for artifacts for his master. The battle is devastating. The Grand Inquisitor is a formidable opponent, but he cannot resist the combined power of Obi-Wan and Maul. Before dying, he looks at Obi-Wan with a mixture of fear and admiration. The Emperor was right about you, Kenobi. You are more dangerous than any Sith. With the Inquisitors eliminated, Obi-Wan and Maul plan their final attack. They need to confront Palpatine when he is most vulnerable, away from his guards and the bulk of his forces. The opportunity comes when the Emperor decides to visit an ancient Sith temple on Malachor, accompanied only by his royal guard. It's a secret trip, but Maul, with his extensive spy networks, obtains the information. On the day of the confrontation, Obi-Wan feels a disturbance in the Force. While meditating, he sees the image of Yoda. Reconsider your path, you must, Obi-Wan. The darkness consume you, it can. I have found a new balance, Master, Obi-Wan responds. Neither light nor darkness, simply the Force in its entirety. Then may the Force be with you, says Yoda, recognizing that he can no longer change the path chosen by his old friend. On Malachor, Obi-Wan and Maul infiltrate the ancient temple. They eliminate the royal guard in a surprise attack and finally confront Palpatine in the central chamber. The Emperor, far from being surprised, seems almost pleased. Master Kenobi, what an unexpected pleasure. And Maul, my former apprentice, always so persistent. Your reign ends today, Sidious, declares Maul, igniting his lightsaber. You have caused too much suffering, adds Obi-Wan, for Anakin, for Padme, for all the Jedi who died. Today you will answer for your crimes. Palpatine lets out a cold laugh and rises from his throne. I can feel your hatred, Kenobi. You have become exactly what you swore to destroy. Oh, the irony is delicious. The battle that follows is of epic proportions. Palpatine demonstrates why he is the most powerful Sith Lord, unleashing Force lightning and wielding his lightsaber with superhuman speed. Obi-Wan and Maul fight in perfect synchrony, as if they had trained together all their lives. But Palpatine is too powerful. He severely wounds Maul and corners Obi-Wan. You were always weak, Kenobi, Palpatine mocks as he presses his attack. Even now, with all your anger, you are no match for the power of the dark side. In that critical moment, Obi-Wan closes his eyes and finds a moment of clarity. He remembers Qui-Gon's teachings about living in the present moment. Instead of being carried away by anger, he allows the Force to flow through him, without restrictions, without labels of light or darkness. With a move that surprises even Palpatine, Obi-Wan deflects a Force lightning back at the Emperor, distracting him long enough for Maul, wounded but not defeated, to pierce him with his lightsaber from behind. Palpatine falls to his knees, incredulous. Impossible. I am the most powerful, the chosen one of darkness. And Anakin was the chosen one of the Force, responds Obi-Wan, placing his lightsaber at the Emperor's chest. This is for him. With a clean movement, Obi-Wan decapitates Palpatine, ending the reign of the Dark Lord of the Sith. With Palpatine's death, the Empire begins to fragment. Various military commanders fight for power, while planetary systems declare their independence. Obi-Wan and Maul, having achieved their revenge, retreat to a remote planet. There, among the ruins of an ancient temple that is neither Jedi nor Sith, they establish a new academy for Force users. Their philosophy is revolutionary. They teach that the Force has no sides, that light and darkness are simply aspects of a greater whole. Their students learn to channel emotions like anger and fear without being consumed by them, and to use compassion and peace without falling into complacency. To Obi-Wan's surprise, Yoda appears one day at the academy. Watching you, I have been, says the elderly master. Different is your path, but perhaps necessary. The old ways led us to destruction, responds Obi-Wan. It's time for something new. Yoda nods slowly. Join you, I wish to. Much to learn, I still have. Over time, others join the academy. Ahsoka Tano, who has survived in hiding, brings with her several Force-sensitive youngsters she has rescued from the remnants of the Empire. "I never thought I'd see you allied with Maul," she tells Obi-Wan when she arrives. "I never thought I'd see the Republic and the Jedi fall," he responds. "Strange times require strange alliances." When Luke and Leia turn 10, Obi-Wan decides it's time to reunite them. He travels to Tatooine and Alderaan, explaining to their adoptive families the importance of the children and their heritage. With the reluctant blessing of Owen and Beru, and the enthusiastic support of Bail Organa, the Skywalker twins meet for the first time since their birth at the new academy. "Why have you brought us here?" asks Luke, always direct. "Because you are the children of Anakin Skywalker," Obi-Wan responds with sincerity, "and because the galaxy will need you someday." Under the tutelage of Obi-Wan, Maul, Yoda, and Ahsoka, Luke and Leia flourish. Luke shows a natural talent for connecting with the Force, while Leia demonstrates extraordinary diplomatic and leadership skills. Obi-Wan tells them the truth about their father, how he was seduced by Palpatine, how he fell, and how, in his final moments, there was conflict in him. "Did you kill him?" asks Leia, her dark eyes studying Obi-Wan intensely. "Not directly," Obi-Wan responds, "but I let him die when I could have saved him. It's a weight I carry every day." "Do you hate us for it?" asks Luke. Obi-Wan smiles, moved by the question. "No, Luke, I love you as if you were my own children. In you, I see the hope that Anakin represented, and this time, I will not fail." As the years pass, the Academy grows in number and influence. Its graduates, trained in a balanced approach to the Force, help stabilize the galaxy. They are neither Jedi nor Sith, but something new, guardians of the Force. The Empire eventually collapses under its own weight, and a new republic begins to form. Leia, combining her Force training with her political skills inherited from her mother, becomes a respected leader in this new government. Luke, for his part, travels the galaxy with Ahsoka, seeking Force artifacts and helping those in need. He is an echo of what his father could have been, a symbol of hope and redemption. Obi-Wan, aged but at peace, often watches the stars from the temple. Sometimes he believes he sees Anakin's spirit smiling at him from afar. "I'm sorry, old friend," he whispers into the void, "but your children are safe, and your sacrifice was not in vain." Maul, who rarely shows emotion, joins him one night. "I never imagined we would end up like this, Kenobi. The Force works in mysterious ways," responds Obi-Wan with a slight smile. In the distance, they can see Luke and Leia training a new generation of students, continuing the legacy that Obi-Wan and Maul began. The galaxy is not perfect. New threats will arise, new challenges will appear. But this time, those who face these challenges will not be limited by ancient dogmas or dark corruptions. And somewhere in the cosmos, the spirit of Anakin Skywalker finally rests in peace, knowing that his lineage has brought balance to the Force in a way that no one could have predicted.